we're emotional animals who think. We're not thinking animals with emotion. We know from science right now that 95 to 99% of all of our spending is emotional.
Ever wonder why you make certain spending decisions even when you know better? Or why standard one-size-fits-all money advice never seems to stick? Today, we are sitting down with Ted McLyman, a financial advisor expert and creator of the Quick Find behavioral system. Science shows that 99% of our spending is driven by emotion and brain chemistry, yet the finance industry expects us to act like emotionless spreadsheets. Today, Ted is here to help us decode our unique money personalities, drop the financial guilt, and discover a brand new framework for true financial peace of mind. Before we dive into that, did you know that we have a free community of spirit-led leaders just like you? Head over to authenticvoiceleadership.com right now to join the conversation and grab all of the exclusive resources from today's guest. It's so nice to have you here, Ted. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your expertise with us. I would love to just start out by giving us a little background about who you are and what you do, and then we'll run with it from there.
For your audience, we found out we're neighbors, and this is kind of fun. Even though we're neighbors, it's a modern time. We do it electronically. Why not? We're very modern. Where'd I come from? I've done a lot of things. Right now, I'm actually on probably my fourth and a half career. But I grew up in upstate New York, where it's cold and miserable, graduated from Colgate University and started chasing sunshine because if you've been in the Finger Lakes, it's cold and miserable most of the year. Took a commission in the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps had the foresight to send me to Hawaii. There I was introduced to primary colors, sunscreen, sunglasses, and crazy people doing crazy things from all over the world, mostly spending money. And that's where I got involved in that. But also my Marines, I found that money was a common denominator at that time that caused a lot of problems, domestic problems, performance, whatever. So to make a long story short, I had no intention of staying in the Marine Corps. But I found out I was an indentured servant, that I served at the discretion of the president. I guess they thought I was doing a good job, so there I was. I ended up staying for 21 years, retiring as a lieutenant colonel. And during that period, I got an opportunity to do some really, really cool stuff with a lot of really neat people around the world. And the common denominator was money and leadership. I was paid to lead Marines and modify and direct behavior in the proper direction. And I found that really what my job was to get the job done, take care of my troops, leaders eat last, have an open mind, sense of humor, and everybody is treated with dignity. And that has been the core of my belief set forever. And through that, I taught economics at the Naval Academy, watched my mids ace in the classroom, fail at life with money, kind of interesting. Did a tours with the Secretary of the Navy staff. I was an aide to the Secretary of the Navy. I worked for our political class and watched them do just amazingly ridiculous things with money. I thought the answer was to retire, become a financial advisor. So I did. And I was really good at it, but I got really disenchanted because I found out they could care less what I did with my clients, how I helped them or anything like that. All they want to do is sell stuff. And I got incredibly disenchanted with that model because the model is all about pushing product. If you're successful, hey, great, but don't bother us with the details. Unless you got a lot of comments in your net worth, really nobody wants to talk to you. Little dirty little secret. So what I did is I left the major firm I was with. Again, I was an advisor. I moved to the dark side, became a manager, and gave that up and started my own firm, Apex Behavioral Solutions Group. And we took a very, very different tack. I found that my role as an advisor was to manage behavior, not money. And what they don't tell you, manage money is really easy. Manage behavior is something completely different. And you know that, Leslie. You do this for a living. I mean, you got a degree in it and everything. And people are people, and they always do people things. And for some reason, it hit me that my job, again, was to manage behavior, not money. And that people always act very human with their money, and we don't address that. The industry assumes we're all rational decision takers. I give you just enough information. You always do the right thing. Well, how's that work out? It's not. So I've written 5 books on the subject. My latest book is the most fun. I got bored last year, so I wrote another book, and it's called Confessions of a Reformed Financial Advisor. Yep, it's mostly BS. And that explains my philosophy, explains where we're going, and why you should actually read the book. I wrote it for people that hate financial books, will never buy one, but you should. I don't talk about money at all. It's all about behavior. And fundamentally, what I'm trying to do is change the world.
I can't wait to read it. Before we go in any further, I don't want to forget, where do they get that book? I want us to get our hands on it.
Well, the best place to find me, the book, and everything I do is on tedmclyman.com, my website. But the book is available on Amazon as a digital book and as a paperback. How about that? People still buy paperbacks from time to time. And what's really neat about this book, I also bundled it with a course. You buy the book for $12, you get a $50 course for free with a code in the appendix, because I want to introduce you to the whole concept, what I introduced in the book, which is called My Money Behavior System, which basically says you need to learn some stuff that nobody's talking about. That's the front end of the process. I discovered it after working with literally hundreds and hundreds of clients as an advisor, as a consultant. And it's just a common sense way to get your head right with money.
Yes, behavior is kind of at the root of everything. I know, like, sometimes I go, why did I spend my money that way? Why did I make that decision? And it is, we talk about how when you go to buy a house and you're selling something, you're looking around, the house needs to speak to the emotional side of things, not just the logical. And so we make so many decisions based on our emotions, and that's not a bad thing, but it's also good to take some time to think about things. So
you hit it right on the head. I mean, think about it. We're emotional animals who think. We're not thinking animals with emotion. And that's the common denominator we also get flipped. If some reason we seem to think when you're in a consequential spending position, a house, car, college, anything that's got probably a comma in it someplace is probably pretty significant for most people.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just driving forward or going on the internet and getting confirmation with all your friends that you're going in the right direction and rationalizing why you bought the added navigation system in your new car that you don't need for an extra $8,000 or $9,000, and everybody agrees it was a great idea, but you're paying for it. We have to understand, and we've got this thing on the top of our head. It weighs about 3 pounds, put your fist together. It's called our brain. And our brain has been under development for eons. And it's designed to do a couple of things, and it does it incredibly well. It's designed to keep us alive. It's designed to chase opportunity to keep us alive. And it's designed to pass on our genes. Well, that's about it. Nowhere does it talk about doing taxes, balancing checkbooks, memorizing passwords, or making change. So fundamentally, our brain, our primitive brain's been around forever, and that's the one that's automatic and non-conscious and emotional. And that's the one that puts in a position, that's our default. And our default says, it feels good. I love the dopamine hit. The dopamine is a neurotransmitter that says, give me more, and it anticipates. And so when you go to the local mall, if you still have one, and it's got a thing that says Galleria on it, that you realize immediately that you're going to be spending a lot more money just for the privilege of going in that front door. But our brain loves it. That's the emotion. So we know from science right now that 95 to 99% of all of our spending is emotional.
Yep. It's like if I could have a button to turn off emotions when I'm ready to spend money, make some logical decisions.
Yeah, and a subset of that, and I think you bring up a really good point, we accept that we're unique and different in our behavior in everything else I can think of. I mean, we think about it in athletics, fitness, diet, wellness, relationships, and you should have this unique focus on you and have things that are designed for you to get it better, except for one thing, money. For some reason, we get to the money side, and all of a sudden, you're supposed to be this rational decision taker, and you're all of a sudden really good with spreadsheets, and you really enjoy doing your taxes and all that kind of stuff, and you get it immediately, and that's your comfort area, and it doesn't work for most people. The whole industry, in my opinion, evolved in earnest after World War II with a lot of very binary processes. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And very linear. And all the mechanism computers came in the 50s and 60s driven by the finance industry. What you have to understand is the finance industry has zero incentive to change. They're doing pretty good. They make the rules, they got the systems, they got the money, and it's an international problem. Everybody in a modern economy does pretty much the same stuff, and it's all people, and we all do the same thing stupidly. I've lived around the world, and we lived in Japan, and the Japanese were just as crazy as money as us. They just bought different stuff. So what I'm trying to focus on is, why do we put up with this? Why do you put up with going to a financial literacy class offered by your local bank through your local school, that their whole intention is to have you sign up for a savings account and a checking account? I mean, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They don't talk about behavior. They talk about technique. And technique does not make you wealthy. Behavior does.
Yes, I remember when I was like 18 or 19 years old and these people came in. I think it was actually when I was in the Air Force at that time, and these guys came in to teach us a little bit about creating wealth with our retirement. And it was the law. What's the name of it? It's like the compound effect.
Yeah.
With your with your money. And so the percentage rate, you put in $20 today and you put in $20 a month, and you'll be a millionaire by the time you're 60. And when you look at it logically, it makes so much sense to do what these guys are telling you to do. Why didn't I?
Yeah.
Why didn't I do it?
Because as soon as you got out of the presentation, they had a sale at the exchange. If you don't know, the exchange is the military department store, and they give you, a young kid that's never had money before, a credit card for the first time of their life, and they realize they need a 65-inch TV to go to their dorm room, of which is not even big enough to put the TV in. But they get one anyhow, and cars and everything else. The other thing I found ironic with the military, we just kind of assume you reach a certain age and you're going to figure it out, but we'll hold you accountable from a reactive point of view after the fact. We'll hold you accountable for bouncing a check. We'll hold you accountable for making dumb decisions with money. We don't really teach you how to do it, but we know the negative behavior and how to fix negative behavior. And you get this snowballing impact, where I saw it even became more of an issue during deployments. A deployment is when they give us in the military the opportunity to visit other places that are very exotic and make friends and do all kinds of crazy things. But the bottom line is our family and spouses are left behind. And I thought for the longest time that washing machines were wired to realize that 60 days into deployment, it's supposed to blow up. So you've got a young wife with young kids with no money. The washing machine doesn't work. The car doesn't work. You're forward deployed. The money's going to you. You can't talk to each other. And you wonder why things are screwed up. It's because we got people doing people things, and the system is not designed to work well with people. And that was my biggest frustration. And it hasn't improved much.
It's like it transported me back in time to when I was 18, 19 years old and expected to manage my money. Well, my parents didn't teach me.
Right.
And I come into the military and they didn't teach me. And I did bounce checks. I was horrible with money. I didn't know how to manage it. And I had a baby young. So I was like, I'm going to write this check to get some diapers and I'll deal with it later.
Yeah.
It's like, and then, did I deal with it later? Yes, I dealt with it later. Yes. Especially, I had some crazy things happen, and I didn't even, this is sad. I did not even notice that someone had stolen my debit card and was spending all of my money. I just kept wondering why I was bouncing checks.
There you go.
And I was like, what is going on with my account? I know I had some money. And it took me like to sit in with the banker going through this. Like, I didn't spend that. I didn't spend that. I was like this 19-year-old kid. I didn't spend that either. And to come to find out, I haven't seen my debit card in a while. Someone had stolen it.
Yeah.
And man, I was really messed up financially back then. And I did get in trouble. I got in trouble, and they still didn't teach me how to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a great point why I wrote the book. Because in the book, I talk about all the fallacies that don't work in a real modern economy when you're dealing with people. I don't understand why we're surprised when the behavior you experienced during that period. Hey, I did something really interesting too. As a second lieutenant, I bought a car sight unseen from a guy at the officers club at the end of the bar because I didn't have a car at the time and I wanted to go across the mountain. Okay. I wrote him a check for a car. Okay. Does that make sense? I mean, I do this for a living. That makes no sense. But that's the norm, not the exception. And we don't look at it that way. It's just people doing people things. We should be impressed when people get money right, not when they get it wrong. The default is getting it
Yes.
wrong, and it's the way we're wired. In the book, I talk about the feeling brain and the thinking brain. The feeling brain's your default. It's where you spend most of your time. It's the fun, it's the people, the relationships, and all that kind of stuff. And you're driven by drugs, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all that stuff that just puts you in positions that, man, I'm having so much fun here. That cruise wear looked great. I bought it on the ship. Doesn't look as good when I get home, but boy, it looked good there. And that's just human stuff. So I started watching this, and a few years back, just before the economy totally blew up with some very smart people doing some very dumb things with money and advanced financial instruments, tranches, and all that kind of stuff, they blew up the economy. So I started writing. I wrote my first book for my clients back then, and it was called Money Makes Me Crazy. And it was the basis of the money behavior system where it got started. And this is what I've really distilled it down to. There are three things that conspire against us when we're trying to spend money. And it's all of us. Number one, it's our biology. I already mentioned that. Hey, we're not wired to do the things they expect us to do. And if you are wired to do it, you tend to go into the industry and just look for people just like you so you can have fun talking about the same stuff, which is reading prospectuses and doing spreadsheets. Number two, it's our belief and values. Our belief and values are established very early. If you've ever followed a toddler through a supermarket, particularly down the cereal aisle, and watched the behavior, they understand scarcity. They understand abundance. They understand supply and demand. At three, okay, that's the basis of economics. But most of our non-conscious belief set with how money works, how we feel about money, the emotional attack, is well established by mid-adolescence. So by middle school, it's pretty much locked in. And the scary part, your peer group at that time is probably more important than anything else. So how you spent money in junior high school or middle school is kind of how you still do it now, non-consciously. So we bring that together, and then we take a look at culture. Culture is an incredible driver. Now, it wasn't a big deal back in the day, and I'll just use an example. My grandfather, when he made financial decisions, he used carbon paper. I got to believe that most of your clients that are listening to this, or the people that are listening to the podcast, don't know what carbon paper is. Okay? I'm not going to explain it because you don't have to deal with it. My dad used pressure sensitive, press hard, third copy is yours, you can't read it type documents. I live in a digital age. Everything is digital. I haven't carried cash in years. Everything's done by magic, by people someplace moving electrons around. That's the reality. So when you're looking at your beliefs, values, and culture, right now, because of the internet, social media, and technology, you can do dumb things with money faster to get things you didn't know you need from places you've never even heard of. And it shows up in your door through Amazon in 72 hours, if that long. I mean, that's magic. So when I'm talking about values, I found the biggest challenge that most people had, that their basic values were not aligned with their behavior. Now, let me explain this. And I've got a whole chapter in the book on this, but I want to give everybody a really simple exercise. If I want you to take a look at a calendar, and I want you to take a look at a bank statement, and I want you to just take a couple of notes, and where do you spend most of your time? You know, is it the gym? Is it home? I don't care what it is, just list it. Then take a look at your statement. Where do you spend most of your money? Now, I don't care what the pattern is, but you need to know, because that is your dominant behavior with money. And I'm not judging. Now, the question I have to ask you is your behavior aligned with your values? If your value is to what's important about money to you is to take care of family, legacy, comfortable retirement. I found that for the majority of my clients, their stated values, which are noble and worthwhile, but usually distant in the future, and they're different than goals, were not aligned with their demonstrated behavior on a monthly basis. And that's what was causing the problems. And technology, game changer.
I love that you bring the values into it, because you know what I have found is that most people don't even know what their values actually are. They've never taken the time to discover and state what their values are so that they can make their decisions based on their values. And, actually, step one of my program is clarifying your priorities and your core values. Because
Yeah.
I found that if you haven't done that, then the rest of it is kind of a wash. You need to know what your values are. And I love that you bring it into alignment. Your behavior with money, is it in alignment with your values?
Yeah. And I mean, you could take it farther. Is your behavior aligned with all your values? I mean, I just put a money piece on it, but if you make a value statement that I just love people and everybody else, but you're a jerk 99% of the time, I mean, we need to have a little talk, or you need to move to a different culture where that jerk behavior is very much accepted. Good luck. The point we're trying to drive home here is, as humans, values, the narrative, the conversation of what's make us what we are. That's our herd. These are our people. And that's a real phenomena. And modern society makes it much more complicated because we can talk like this to people around the world, and our brains really don't differentiate, because once you're engaged, it's just like we're sitting in the same room. Your brain is interpreting it the same way, and those are called mirror neurons, and it doesn't differentiate. That's why when you're watching television and it's so insidious that the way they do the commercials, it puts you right in it non-consciously, and it's called priming. And you're primed that when you're driving down the road and you see that color, that sign, that logo, you go, yeah, I need one. And that's why there's a line out of In-N-Out Burger in Franklin, which they're selling hamburgers. Hamburgers are generic, but there's a line at 11 o'clock at night at the brand new In-N-Out Burger in Franklin, Tennessee, because for some reason, everybody believes it's the gold standard of hamburgers. I don't know. That's human behavior.
That's awesome. Align it in and out. The gold standard of hamburgers. That's hilarious.
Bottom line is, we make this too hard. I mean, we're having a great conversation right here, and we're aligning, and we're just riffing this thing. We met a few weeks ago and we went through the kabuki dance of who's what and who's going to do what to whom and what do you want to do, and and we just basically said, nah, that's not going to work. We're not going to script it. We're going to just sit here and talk and fix the world and have fun doing it. That's the way we're wired. But I've been in other circumstances that if I go off script, if you're lucky enough to get a script from me, people panic. You never address point 2. Or yes, you did, but you put point 2 after point 5. How are we going to deal with it? I said, I don't know. I'm not even sure if I know what point 5 was. So,
did we have a point 5?
Yeah. What does that mean? Okay. Oh, fill in the blank. I really don't care. But the takeaway is, we're all different, but we're all human. And it's the human interaction. And this is what you do, Leslie, for a living. This is leadership, personal leadership, professional leadership. It all comes down to understanding your natural wiring. I call it your natural behavior, and it's unique to you. We accept that. Now, you also have a unique money temperament, which is unique to you. We don't accept that. And that's when I got into the money behavior system. My technique to make this thing happen, I brought that in very, very intentionally. Now, the money behavior system is just common sense. I worked with a lot of people. I said, I'm doing this. Why don't I write it down on a piece of paper? Because this is not what they were teaching me to be a outstanding financial advisor. I found that the typical goal setting first, how much money you got to work with, money, time, rate of return, and I can make you wealthy, missed an incredible, important component: behavior. Behavior should be the common denominator below everything. And I don't dispute that time, money, rate of return is the basic formula for financial wealth generation. That assumes you've got enough time and you can manage it. It assumes you got enough money and you can manage it. And rate of return you have no control over, because that's driven by the market. So that's a nice operation. It assumes that you've got the personal direction, the wherewithal, the discipline to make that all happen. You got in the market at the right time. You got to use the money at the right time. You made the decision that I'm not going to eat for a month so I can get the money into this really cool thing. That's not a good deal either. So I started focusing on the behavior piece. So I first told you about money values. That's number 1. I want you to sit down and have a long discussion about what's important about money to you. And I guarantee if you have that discussion with somebody, with yourself, and your partner, peer, good friend, have that same discussion, I bet they have slightly different values.
Mm-hmm.
We're fixated on goals. Goals are important. Goals are measurable. They're usually tangible, but they're driven by values. Goals don't drive values. Values drive goals. And we never talk about that in the financial process. Next thing is your money temperament. Money temperament is just who you are. I have a temperament which is called, I'm an initiator. I'm the type of person that gets stuff done. I'm out in front. I'm doing things. Now, sometimes I got to remember to look around and see if everybody's still behind me, but I get stuff done. I'm a builder. I'm a fixer, but I'm not a very good maintainer. That's my natural wiring. So if you put me out of my one environment as a business owner, Marine officer, that and the other thing, and put me someplace else, that natural behavior is not going to change. I might be able to moderate it to some degree. I might be able to channelize it, but I'm still going to be me as an initiator. That's why the money piece is so hard, because we've determined in our research that there are only about 3 natural behaviors that are ideally suited for the money thing. The rest of us are kind of out there in left field going, that's why it's so hard. That's why I can't do this. So what I'm saying, instead of going through this miserable drill of forcing you to do things you're not wired to do, like do a budget, and every budget you get from a financial advisor comes in a nice folder. It's usually a 1/4 inch thick and 8-point font. You can't read it. You don't understand it. You're really excited driving home. You put it on the counter. You fill it in for an afternoon. You forget a couple of receipts. It's a weekend. You're done with it on Wednesday. That's human behavior. But the person that's really into it is not only going to do the budget, they're going to get the software, they're going to tag everything in the house, they may barcode it, and they've got the inventories and the 3x5 cards and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing. But they're the exception, not the norm.
We don't have any of those in my
house. Why do we want to put you in this box that you're not going to be able to do? Instead of doing what I recommend, let's take the time and determine your natural money temperament. This is your fingerprint. It's as unique to you as your fingerprints. It's your natural default with money. Now, I'm not saying you can't force yourself into that very uncomfortable thinking brain piece where you got to make that decision. Do I want the blue car or the red car? Do I want the big navigation system or the little navigation system? Okay, those are important decisions, and you've got to force yourself there for a while, be analytical, or use techniques to keep yourself from going overboard. We never talked about that as financial advisors. We assumed everybody was the same. And what they were simply missing was information and knowledge. If I give you enough information and knowledge, you're going to get it right. No, you're not. The next piece is money knowledge. Now, money knowledge is not technical knowledge. It's how you process information. I call that, it's learning modality. Are you visual, auditory, tactile? Because in a consequential spending situation, you need to get the information in a way you can actually work with it. You can process it. You can retain it. So if you're a visual person, you want pictures, graphs, colors. I don't care if it's a coloring book. It is designed for you, and you're going to understand the information better. You're going to retain it, and you're going to use it. If you're auditory, you want to be able to speak it, talk it about. You want to be able to speak it back to the person you're working with and answer the question, is this really what it is? And tactile means you want to sit down there and take it apart, put it back together, and play with it. It's interesting that most financial decision is not delivered to really ideally meet the needs of any of those 3 modalities. It's a combination of digital reading, information, and most of that is compliant requirements. It's legal documents. Most of the people, in my experience, that are in the profession and licensed don't understand a lot of this stuff. I mean, the best thing I can think of, if you ever been to a house closing, you walk in there, it's this very somber moment. If anything, you get a free pen. They give you a bottle of water. There's a lawyer at one hand. There's a line of other people across the table. You're on the other people. It's kind of an adversarial kind of thing. It seems very, very formal. And somebody you're paying a lot of money sits there and reads this document. Well, they don't read it. They summarize it. But you're still paying them the full fee. And we're not designed for that unless you're the guy at the end of the table that loves doing this. But you're putting his kid through college, not yours. Okay. So just understand that also. So what I've learned is it starts with the value discussion. If you don't know where you're going and why you're doing it, and that's the motivation for everything, you've got to get that narrowed down. Then you have to understand how you're different than everybody else with money. And it's okay. Embrace it, don't reject it. Then Make sure you understand when it's an important decision with money, you're getting the information the way you can use it. Then you sit down and build your strategy. That's the fourth step in the money behavior system. It's you need a strategy, but the strategy has to fit you, not the person that's selling you the product. Needs to be a one size fits you approach as opposed to a cookie cutter one size fits all, which is the default in the industry. If it fits you, you're going to use it. If it fits you, you're going to understand it. If it fits you, oh my gosh, you're actually going to live with it. So your strategy needs to be value driven, behaviorally based, designed for how you think and process information, and going to put you in a position to accomplish those things that are important to you in life that are going to cost money. And if it doesn't happen, it's going to cause you emotional anxiety. Then you go to step 5, is you go get the stuff, the products, the services. Unfortunately, in the traditional financial planning, financial industry, they start with goals and go right to the product. They don't cover
Yes.
any of that other stuff. But ironically, you'll figure out all that stuff eventually over the next year to 18 months. You've owned that product. I don't feel comfortable with it. I can't tell you the number of financial plans I reviewed that people spent a lot of money for that they were never executed, never funded, or never opened because it was not a good fit.
I think that gives us so much grace to be who we are and still hope that we can manage our money well.
Yeah, and you can, but it's got to work for you. This is also really important. I found that most couples are wired differently. And if you're both wired the same, that can be good, that can be bad. But I also have found sitting down with couples, when I used to do the initial interview with a new client, I demanded that all the stakeholders be there. I don't care if they came back afterwards, but they got to be there for the initial why we here, what are we doing, the value discussion, the temperament discussion, and the learning style. Then from there, I don't care how you delegate it, but I found that generally it's kind of a yin and yang type of thing. One person's kind of into it, the other person isn't. But in the industry, most advisors just launch into the person that's into it, take them under their wing. That's the person they talk to. That's the person they're selling to. That's the person they're offering their services to. And often the other person doesn't have a clue what's going on because they're not interested. I don't say you got to embrace this. I don't even condemn a lot of the talking heads that are giving you advice, but you have to be aligned with the talking head. The problem with a lot of the talking head advice, people like myself, people on, well, there's a person that's got a big building not far from us. He's got a wonderful practice, but what he's saying is good, it's solid, but it's not appropriate for everybody. Not that it's wrong, it's not behaviorally aligned with who you are. So as hard as you try, you're not going to master that tool or technique.
Right.
And that's what you got to get your head around. Let me give you a metaphor. This might even be better. Let's say if you called me up and said, Ted, I got an opportunity to buy a Miata. I've always wanted a small little sports car, but it's a standard stick shift. And I've never driven a stick shift. Can you teach me how to drive a stick shift? I said, sure. I'm going to send you 6 or 7 YouTube videos, a couple of engineering diagrams, a couple of interviews I did with people that have driven sticks for a long time, give you a small exam at the end. You get a 70, I'll send you the keys, you can go drive. I don't think that would work well. I think you'd kill me. Okay, or I can say, number one, Leslie, what's important about driving a Miata with a standard shift for you? And I want to have that discussion right up front. Because there's a reason you want a Miata with a standard shift. And it probably has nothing to do with transportation, nothing to do about going to the store. There's an overriding need. So what is the driving value of that automobile? Okay, I want to know that. And if we're talking about cars in general, are you going to drive a truck? You're going to drive an SUV? You're going to drive commercially? You're going to just commute? Then I'm going to sit down and I want to know about your temperament behind the wheel. Okay, how are you in traffic? Are you one of those people that yells and throws for people? Or are you just laid back and really cool? Do you have all your appendages? Do you have the coordination to use a clutch, brake, and shift? I mean, I want to figure out your driving temperament, and that's going to take a little discovery, and it's going to be working one-on-one. Then we're going to figure out how you process information. I mean, because you've got to be able to read road signs. You've got to be able to figure that out. You got to take directions because I want to make sure you're getting that the right way. Then we're going to put together a performance-based training system that's value driven, accommodates your temperament, given to you a way that you can take it in effectively and efficiently. Then I'm going to give you a mastery check ride. And we're going to start probably in a school parking lot before we take you on Route 65. Okay. And once you master that, and it's a performance based mastery, then we'll say, go buy the car. Okay. I teach people how to drive money. That's what I do. And it's very different than to teaching you how to build a car or build a bank. And that's the fundamental difference between the traditional financial industry. When I'm talking about the traditional financial industry wants to make you a mini financial advisor, and it discounts almost everything I talked about on the behavioral side.
Yes. I mean, I can create a mean spreadsheet, but keeping up with it, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll send you the spreadsheet.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I must be an initiator too, because I can go full force. I can start something on what's called an activator, get it going, and then maintaining it takes a lot of extra energy to keep things maintained. I was like, you know what I should just do is like build something and hand it to people. Can you do a business with that? Building up something and handing it to others to take it run with it?
Yeah. Yeah. And assume you're going to change your natural wiring just because you walked into the bank. That doesn't make any sense.
Right. Exactly. So with like money, it's like, oh, well, this makes so much more sense. I think my husband and I are just right in alignment. We agree to make these emotional decisions, and then we're suffering together.
Yeah. It's amazing. But there are a lot of little tricks you can do that keep you focused. I mean, for your listeners, have you ever been driving and get a text message, stop and get milk and bread? And immediately your non-conscious brain starts going into overtime. First has to define what bread is. What kind of bread? Sliced bread, Italian bread, loaf bread, baguette, hamburger rolls? Okay. It just says get bread. Okay. You could end up with anything. Depend if it's not clarified, okay? Because you're going to go to your default. I think I know what bread is. I know what I like. That's what you're going to get. Then you're going to say, where do I go? Naturally, you're going to go to the place you're most comfortable. That's the habit. That's the behavior. You're generally not going to go someplace you've never been before. And he says, I'd like to try your bread. I understand you sell bread. Okay. Let's talk about that. So you pull in without thinking. You probably go into the door on the right-hand side. Why do you go on the right side? Because we're in the United States and we do everything on the right side. If you're in some other countries, you go on the left side. Now, the first thing you're going to do is because you're wired and you've already done this, you get a cart. Why? I don't know. You're going to get milk and bread. Is it going to be a very large loaf? You're going to get a lot? No, you're used to doing that. And you walk in and you go to the right. And what do you see? The flower shop, the deli, the bakery, high margin, high return, emotionally driven things. And they're priming you to go on this scavenger hunt through the store based on the sights, the sounds, and the colors. The end caps are full of new stuff. You might have samples out there. And you go, hey, I'm here. I might as well pick up a couple of other things. And by the time you get way back to the dairy section, which is always in the back of the store on the left-hand side, it is kind of boring because milk is milk. It's not a lot of decisions there. And you pick it up, you walk through the bread aisle, and the only decision there, do you want to get the bakery stuff or do you want to get stuff that comes in the plastic bags with a shelf life of about 5 years? That's what you got to determine. So you go up and you pay for the stuff and you go, man, this is a lot more than I thought it was going to be. But, you're driving, you got to get home. And you get home and you find out you got the wrong milk, the wrong bread. You bought a lot of other stuff you didn't need and you spent a lot of money. We've all done that. That's being human with money. Or shopping for a gift for somebody and you buy more for yourself than you do for the person you're getting the gift for. That's being human with money. Don't fight it, embrace it, but you've got to put steps in place to make it easier to do the right thing with money as opposed to easier to just go with the crowd. Like make a list. A list could be written on your palm in ink. Bread, cheapest, milk, 2%, gallon, 1. Go on the left side. Look at your hand as you're walking through the store. Avoid all the other stuff. Come back, go to checkout, go back in your car. You're going to go home. If you're going to be at a mall, a place that is primed to make you spend money, consider leaving your wallet and or credit cards and debit card in the car locked in the glove compartment. Because, and maybe take a little bit of cash with you or a debit card that you limit how much you can spend. You can do that with all modern better credit cards. I don't know if you know that. You can go in and put the minimum amount that can be spent on that card in a day. So say you say, $200. You can fix it while you're there, but it takes effort. So now you're going to go in and you find something that costs more than $200. You really want it. It's great, but you got to walk all the way back to the car to get your checkbook or your credit card. I guarantee you're going to save a lot of money doing that. Or you got to go through the drill to sit down and rewire your car. Let's do that. Here's one that I think is the most fun. Take a screenshot of my face, put it on your phone, and every time you get into a very consequential spending situation, you bring up my delightful face. And this will trigger you back here, and you'll go, I don't remember who this guy was, but he said, stop, wait, breathe. Maybe I shouldn't spend the money.
I love that. That's great. One of the modern conveniences that has helped me in this area in particular, especially with groceries, is the buying it online, and you can see the money, you can see where it's at, and you can remove things from your cart. It's like, I love the experience of going shopping, but I also don't.
Yes.
So sitting with my computer or my phone and making my cart ready and then having it shipped to my door, that has helped me be able to meal plan better and use my budget money better. And it's definitely less emotional spending on food.
You save money to probably eat healthier. You don't have the newest variation of Oreos, or the way you can tell a holiday's coming up because the M&Ms have changed the color in the bag.
Right. The only thing I don't like doing that with is fresh produce. But they have these wonderful farmers markets and things like that, and it's less money and it's a better experience to walk through those fresh farmers markets versus a commercial grocery store.
Yeah, great. I mean, the only thing you might end up there with a goat you didn't think you were going to buy, but that's a whole different discussion.
Or the metaphorical goat. That might happen.
Yes.
Side note, my husband was out working at a house one day. He picked up an odd job doing some construction work. These guys had chickens, and he comes home with a box of 6 baby chickens. And I was like, oh, what are we going to do with this? I'm so excited. And our poor chickens didn't make it. We were not prepared for them. And it was a sad story. But I think that happens with our money too. Oh, look, we have this.
Yeah, well, it used to be back in the day that around Easter, hardware stores were selling chickens, and they used to dye them different colors. Now, I don't know what it did to the chicken, because I bet most of them never made it within 72 hours after they got brought, the dog, the kid, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But again, we're doing people stuff.
Exactly.
And we lose sight of the fact that almost everything we have out there right now is to make it more convenient to spend money. And the marketeers are driving it. If you sit down, like I was at a due diligence meeting with a large national financial firm a number of years ago. Due diligence is where they bring us in and they stress test and troubleshoot a new product. That's called due diligence. And they want our feedback if it's going to work or not. So we're sitting there. And, they treated us really well because they brought us in, flew us in for this thing. And they introduced the team that was inventing the product. And we're going, okay, that's fine. But one was a PhD. They're both PhDs. One was French, one was German. One had a degree in, I think, physics. The other one had in theoretical math or something like that. And it's going to be a wonderful presentation when it opens up. So I know you can't read anything on the screen because these are screenshots. We just took them before we came in. I think I've got about 30 slides like this, but I'll go through them quickly. And you're going, oh my God. Well, into about the second slide, they started arguing in German. And they didn't know what they were talking about. And this is a new product they wanted to unleash on us into the world and empower us to give us to our clients and make the firm a whole lot of money. And the guy only stopped arguing. We stopped beating our head against the table because it was ridiculous. And we sat there and we said, I don't know what you're trying to do with this thing. It was overly complicated. I didn't know anybody that would qualify for this thing. And the VP sat there and he said, I don't care about that. How many are you going to take? I said, 0. I'm going to sell this thing. And that led to another interesting discussion. And I became an independent, privately owned financial advisor.
There you go. I love this. This has been really fun. Thank you so much, Ted, for just pouring out your expertise and your knowledge. And I think it makes people feel okay to be who they are too, while working on the money thing. Because the money thing can be, I think that's probably one of the most stressful things that we deal with, just in human behavior in our families, and just working those things out. And so I think that's very encouraging. Where can people find you to get more information?
Yeah. If you go to my website, I've got a 3-step guide, which just has got some information, kind of an introduction what the process is. If I had to really recommend, if you like what we're talking about, one, go to the website. It's got a lot of cool information in there. Download the 3-step guide and subscribe to our community, because we talk about this stuff, and I'm on a goal. I want to change the world, and I've got to do it bottom up. And I need people that get it, that want to move forward what we're doing. And then I recommend you read the book. I've got courses and all that, but I think the starting point is read the book. It is your framework for peace of mind in your chosen lifestyle. It really is. I don't talk about money any place in this thing. Well, I do once. I talk about a barter situation where a farmer comes in carrying a chicken, wants to buy a cup of coffee, hands the chicken to the clerk and says, "I want change." And it's very messy. The chicken doesn't like it, but you understand barter is not terribly efficient. That's about as deep as I get, but that's a good story. But
and it's related.
I do a lot of podcasts. I want to get your feedback. I want to know what's on your mind with money, because we're serious about starting a movement to look at this whole problem very differently. You've got to deal with it. Unless you are living in a cave someplace and you're self-sufficient, and then I got to ask, I don't know how you got this program. You've got to deal with money. And even if you got it right, I know you know people that are not as versed as you are. They have some problems. It's people being people. We're not as good with money as a lot of people think we should be, or we are. We do people things all the time. I mean, we like stories. We don't like numbers. We like order, not ambiguity. All of that stuff conspires against you, which is your natural wiring as a human being. And unfortunately, it will drain your bank account. So the last thing I'll leave you with is, let's talk. Read the book. I love to talk to you about the book. I want some feedback. But just remember that the conventional wisdom about money is wrong. We are not rational with money. We're emotional with money. And that's where we live. That's where we act. And that's why it's so much fun. And that's why a lot of us are broke.
Yes. This is so good. I can't wait to read the book myself. So I'm also going to have all of these, the links and everything will be in the show notes in our community. And if you go to the community for Authentic Voice Leadership, you will find all of the goodies that you can get from Ted. And I'll have linked to the books and everything in there. So that would be a great place to find it in addition to your website. So we'll send people right over there.
Absolutely. And I just had a thought when you're thinking, since we live close to each other, we should probably get together in a coffee shop someplace and the local people come in and meet us. I mean, we can have
we can do a book signing.
We can have you bring the book though.
You bring the book and we'll sign it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I went through the drill before where you had physical books and I had a warehouse full of them. I'm not doing that.
No, mine are print on demand. I've got one.
Yeah. Yep. You'll do. But it's fun. We want to change the world, and you've got to do it when people understand that the box they're trying to fit you into with regard to money may not be the box you should be in. Instead of being anxiety ridden and concerned about that, reject that. You need to build a box that fits you. That's the bottom.
Yes. That's so good. All right, Ted.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed talking to you.
Hey, Radiant Leader, to dive deeper into our resources and connect with a powerhouse circle of like-minded leaders, come join our free community right now over at authenticvoiceleadership.com. I will meet you right back here next Tuesday. Your voice matters. Lead wild, lead free. Stay radiant, my friend.